In this first portion of consciousness, we will be discussing sleep and dreaming. But before we get to that point, let's first explain what consciousness is, at least to our knowledge. Consciousness is a way of defining our state of awareness. And when we speak about awareness, I mean self-awareness, self-consciousness, awareness of our environment, as well as the states of consciousness which occur, as we'll talk about shortly, when we're sleeping, dreaming, or in some type of altered state. There are many different forms and states of consciousness, but we will only be covering a few of these for the purpose of the CLEP exam. Let's first turn our attention to the state of sleep and dreaming. In order for our bodies to function, we have a built-in clock, a set of rhythms and pace that is labeled as a circadian rhythm. Circadian is a Greek word stemming from circa diem, meaning about a day, which references the fact that if we are left to a free-floating, a free-form environment where there are no clocks, there's no sunlight, I will actually run on my own 24, really to 25-hour body clock. It's this natural rhythm that we have that controls our wakefulness, that controls our ebbs and flows in alertness. Even such things as our body temperature and hormone levels are controlled by this rhythmic flow in the body. As I said before, it's a 25-hour clock if left to itself to run freely. The body also has a type of rhythmic clock for sleeping itself. We know about this from the measurement of EEG waves, electroencephalograph machines, which we can plug onto our forehead and different parts of our body while we're sleeping, and we can see different changes in neural activity. We're going to talk about 5 stages, unique stages, that differ based on brainwaves while we're sleeping. So let's imagine we're going to sleep. We're a little tired, we're starting to doze off, our eyes are closing, and we're starting to calm down and get ready for a long night of sleep. This is when we enter the first stage of sleep, and during this stage we experience the advent of alpha waves. During this stage, alpha waves are moving fairly quickly, and we begin to experience this hypnagogic sensation. This is when you're falling asleep and suddenly it feels like you fell off your bed, or you're dropping out of an airplane and you hit the ground and you have a sudden moment of wakefulness. This is referred to as the hypnagogic jerk or hypnagogic sensation, which is characteristic of stage 1 of sleep. From there we enter into the stage 2 of sleep. Our brain waves switch over from alpha over to the theta waves, a bit slower. And what is identified in this area of sleep are sleep spindles, which kind of look like slower, but more jerky type of electric waves. And we have these K complexes, which are spikes of neural activity which occur and look like Ks, if you would, during the sleep cycle. From there we move on to 3rd and 4th stages of sleep. These are our deep sleep stages, where we have the advent of delta waves as well as what we refer to as slow wave sleep. Finally, the 5th stage is referred to as REM, or rapid eye movement sleep. It is during this period that our eyes are literally rapidly moving back and forth, and it is during this phase that we have our dreams. This is the dream state. It's referred to as the paradoxical stage of sleep because while our minds are extremely active, the most active throughout the whole sleep process where we dream, our bodies are actually shut down. Our bodies can't move. So we sleep and we can't move our limbs. And the reason is because if we were able to move our limbs, imagine what we would do during our dream states where we're running or we're fighting or we're jumping up and down. And if our body wasn't shut down, it would be pretty unfortunate for the person that we're sleeping next to. So these are the 5 stages of sleep. Next, we should cover the sleep disorders that occur. Insomnia, the first of the disorders and the most common, is what occurs when we have difficulty falling asleep. So you're up in your bed and you just can't get your mind to enter into those deeper states of sleep. You may also experience insomnia in the early morning when you wake up too early and you just can't get back to sleep at 4:30 or 5 in the morning. This is early morning or early onset insomnia. Hypersomnia is quite the opposite, where you're sleeping too much, where you fall into sleep and you can't actually break out of your sleep easily. Narcolepsy is a separate sleep condition whereby a person might be operating in their average daily activity and suddenly sleep onset comes like a snap of a finger and they suddenly will fall asleep while they're doing whatever they're doing. And this can be an extremely dangerous sleep condition, and people are told not to drive or operate heavy machinery if they are narcoleptic. Finally, we have sleep apnea. This is a sleep condition whereby people lose oxygen to the brain because they are having a variation of snoring, where the airwaves from the nostrils shut down, or are closed rather, and a person isn't able to breathe as freely. Again, a serious condition, a dangerous condition that needs to be investigated and treated properly. We move on to talking about sleep and dreaming in terms of what are dreams. Dreams occur, as we mentioned earlier, during REM sleep, mostly during REM sleep. And we know a lot about dreams, mostly from what people report. It is impossible for us to see what goes on in a person's mind during dreaming, but it is what we know from self-reporting. We know that dreams are quite important to us, and that the body, when it loses a lot of sleep, let's say I pull an all-nighter, or I'm up for a long period, 30, 40 hours, right when I catch my first wave of sleep, my body will give me what's called a REM rebound, which is an excessive extra amount of REM sleep. I normally have a REM period once every 90 minutes, but in this case, I might get an excessive amount of REM to replenish my body's energy source. Moving along, we are now able to talk about some theories of dreaming. The most famous of the dream theorists is Sigmund Freud. Freud's theory of dreams is that we dream about and we have images during our sleep, that on the surface level seem maybe perhaps interesting, and what Freud would refer to as a manifest content of the dream. I dreamt that I went to the dentist last night, perhaps. But Freud said underneath that was the latent content, the hidden meaning of the dream. What does it really mean that I went to the dentist and they pulled my teeth? Maybe it means they were pulling a deep secret from me, something that I was afraid to talk about or let go of. More to talk about that perhaps, but with our limited time we must move on to two other interesting theories. The activation synthesis theory. This theory basically says that at night our brain is firing with billions of neural activity, and because of this firing of neural activity, various images pop up into the mind's eye, as it were, and we synthesize these images when we wake up in the morning and concoct a story that kind of makes sense in some way, which is why sometimes our dreams don't feel completely fluid and they seem disjointed because of perhaps this activation synthesis process that is occurring. Finally, we have the information processing model. This model states that our dreams are meant to help us digest and make sense of the activities of our day. And when we go to sleep at night, the dreams that we have are pulling together various concerns, anxieties, worries, or hopes, and put them out in this and process them in a form of almost a movie, as it were, for us to be able to digest and process what is going on in our daily life. So we covered a lot of information in this particular module of sleep and dreaming. I hope you can review it and understand it well and be prepared for this section of the CLEP exam.